Okay, that's how it sounds like after exporting, and this is the project, obviously, and even though it looks fairly complicated, this project is pretty simple. So there's only like 4 things playing during the drop, even though it feels like there's a ton of stuff. So the main things that are playing are the song that I separated from the vocals, which is, this is the instrumental. So there's no effects on this, but I did add a bunch of effects just to fix some stuff. So I cut the lows, increased volumes, and added reverb. So it sounds like this. Then same thing with the vocals, no effects. And then I did the same thing, cut lows, increased volumes, added delay, and then reverb. And this is also linked to a sidechain, which I have sidechains here. This is the vocal sidechain, and also there's also sidechain on the music, even though it's a little bit less. And usually you don't want to make your sidechains like this, because this is kind of, people consider it ugly, but you know, whatever works for you, you can just do. Usually you want to do sidechains with limiters, but this is okay for now. And next thing I have playing during the drop is the reece, which is basically just like a non-distorted bass. And I also have a little bit of lows cut here, because if I keep the lows on this bass, then it'll be bad for the Frenchcore kick, because it's going to sound terrible. You don't want to have too much low end or too many low frequencies, so they don't collide. So far it sounds like this. Music, vocals, and reece. And then next thing, so now finally, here's the Frenchcore kick. It sounds a bit different from the song because I have low settings, so my computer doesn't explode. But the song has, or the kick has, 3 different sections, or 3 different parts. First, there's the bass, obviously. So the bass is, okay, the bass is made in CRM. This is how it looks like. It's just a sine wave with some filters, and I added some distortion. Also added some distortion here, and just distortion. That's how you make nice kicks. Then I added this. This is a kick, but I took the first half and I made that the punch of the kick, because you want your kicks have basically 2 parts, which is your punch and your bass, and together sound like this. But I added one extra thing, which is called a talk. Also, don't worry about this. So I forgot to remove that. This is a talk. It's basically like a sound to be on top of your kick, and it adds like drive and energy. And it just plays at the start. And you want to play with the pitch so it sounds good. This is how it sounded originally. I didn't like that, so I pitched it down 1 semitone. And that sounded better, so I just left it like that. So far it sounds like this. So that already sounds pretty decent, but there's some more stuff I added. So here's, I added this. these are called chords, and yeah, I grabbed the bass notes and just added notes on top of it till it sounded good, and I was left with this. I also have some reverb and sidechain. So far it sounds like this. And that's actually all I have for that drop. So yeah, pretty simple. In terms of mixing, I can go more in detail later or another video, because it really is, I think, a lot to cover, especially for beginners. And next is this drum and bass section. I have a bunch of these sections all over the song, but mainly these sections are made of some hats, which I have here. Then this loop, just to like fill up empty space. Then a hat. And that's pretty low volume, but you can still hear it. And then the kick, which I have some reverb on it. Then together with everything, I sidechain it. And then on the second drop, I have some special patterns with the kicks. So here, for example, is a reverse kick and the reverse talk, which is what I showed earlier, this, but reverse. Then here, some reverse kicks, and then triples. Like this, they sound like this. And yeah, I also removed this sidechain here, because there's no kicks, so it has that nice like long sound, like building up tension. And I also have this. And so that basically adds a little bit of background noise during this extra part here. You can barely hear it, but what you can hear is these hats that I added during this extra section. And in the second drop, I also added one more thing, which is this extra lead. And these notes may seem familiar, it's the vocals. And together with the vocals, they sound pretty nice. It adds a little bit of depth to the vocals. And I have this only at the second drop, it's not at the first drop. So adding little details like that makes your song have like some kind of progression, and it sounds pretty good. And then this third and final section, some grows beat. Then added hats, and also a snare, which there's no snare on the previous sections. It's only here, so it's more progression. And then drum and bass section with no vocals, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, some effects also, like crashes, This is for like transitions. Just a bunch of different effects to add like variation. Also, another thing I like to do is after I export my track, I make a new project and then put the track in that project, and then I can change the BPM how I want. Yeah, you can play with it till you like it. I usually just leave it. Most of the time I leave it how I exported it, but you can play around with it. Make it like 220, see if you like it faster. You can also make some stuff like make the song get faster, like I did. And make it slow down. And you can also rearrange your song a little bit. Here I cut one part that I didn't like, which is this slow section here. So I just removed it completely. And then I made a slow part at the end. Yep. Yeah, any questions, anything, just DM me on Discord, and I'll respond later.